For decades now, we have had a battle going on within the Republican Party between the moderates and the more conservative Tea Party people. We had it in '64 with Goldwater, and '76 with Reagan and Ford. We're having it now, and it just played out in the 16th Congressional District, which borders where we are now, between Don Manzullo and Adam Kingzinger. What are your comments on that?
Well, there's a lot there, actually. I think the battle within the Republican Party in Illinois, particularly in the last decade since George Ryan's demise, has been less moderate conservative and much more different philosophies on how a party should be organized and what the party should be in business to do. Let me just expound on that a little bit. The George Ryan model, and frankly this was the Jim Edgar and Jim Thompson model as well, is that we are a corporatist structure. We exist to gain control of the levers of power, of the instruments of government, so that we can distribute spoils to our friends. It's the same thing as the Democrats, although we're just a little bit more proficient and a little bit less corrupt. Our green eye shades guys are a little bit better than their green eye shades guys, and we're going to operate a little bit more within the bounds of the law. That's really what it was. So that's one model. And there are people around in the party, including in elective office, that still think that is the model and should be the model. And then the conservative grassroots, while there has been some conservative moderate clashes, of course, over particular policy issues and in particular races, there is the real difference and the real choice that we need to put to rank and file Republicans and conservatives around the state is, do you think that's the model that we should go back to? Because, you know, they'll say, look, hey, we won the governor's office, we held the governor's office for 3 decades, so it must work, so that's what we should repeat. Or is the model that is based in an understanding that politicians are the means to policy ends, and that's all they are. That, you know, I don't care if somebody's nice, I don't care who their grandfather was, I don't care what business they ran, and this is where the Tea Party sensibility has been so important. If they are going to go to Springfield or Washington, D.C. and vote against my interests, then you may have gone to Harvard, but I'll take my chances with the witch. I mean, that's what it was in 2010, and I think that battle is the real battle that's playing out. This corporatist kind of we make big government work in a responsible way that you can be proud of, versus the idea of really shrinking government, really advancing policies that are rooted in an economic liberty agenda that are consistent with free minds and free markets and a free society, that exalt the individual and shrink government intrusion, particularly in our economic life. And as Hayek said, to be controlled in your economic pursuits is to be controlled in everything. That's the dichotomy, I think, that's actually present. The moderate conservative thing, you know, you're pro-choice, I'm pro-life, you're for civil unions, I'm not. That is still a part of the conversation, but I think that overlays this foundational argument that needs, frankly, to be more centralized, to be more pronounced, so that people understand what really fundamentally is going on. Because I think that's what's fundamentally going on. Now, the Kingzinger-Manzullo race, I endorsed Adam Kingzinger. And I know that's not popular in some parts, and I've taken heat for that. I understand it. It's a tough call. Don't have a bad word to say about Don Manzullo. He's a good guy, good conservative, was for 20 years. I don't think Adam Kingzinger's a moderate, is how he's been painted by some people, but that's neither here nor there, because I don't think that's really the issue. The argument that I made in the letter that I wrote supporting Adam Kingzinger was that one of the things that has been a problem for the Republican Party in the state and the conservative movement is when young, talented people present themselves, they have been told to wait your turn, or they have been dismissed out of hand. This happened as I was coming up, when it was Lee Daniels and Kate Phillip and Jim Edgar at the time, then George Ryan, and certainly before that with Jim Thompson, it was the same thing. Wait your turn, we will tell you when we have a slot for you, and we will tell you what that slot is. And just like I was talking about with teachers, when talented young people want to pursue an interest and they have aptitude for that interest, and they're told to go pound sand or wait your turn, guess what they do? They go do something else, and they don't come back. And it's one of the reasons the Republican Party electoral count, vote totals, has been on a slow, steady decline over much of the last 10 years. Because we have essentially told people, instead of making explicit appeals to new constituencies, like I tried to describe in my talk, we have essentially told people, I'm indifferent. You want to participate? Great. It'll be on these terms. You don't want to participate? That's fine too. So my concern with the Manzullo-Kingzinger race, and the argument that I made is, it was bigger than that race. The difference between Manzullo and Kingzinger, I didn't think was that pronounced on the substantive policy, economic liberty policy agenda. Some people may disagree with it. I have friends that disagree with it. I understand the disagreement. I didn't think it was that pronounced as compared to the signal that we would be sending if we sent a 35-year-old war vet who is a conservative packing because it's not this generation's time yet in this party in the state. I think that would have had a chilling effect on young, talented people who want to meaningfully participate in the conservative movement and the Republican Party in the state. Now again, I understand that people disagree with that calculus, but that was my calculus.